Welcome to the Ball and Blockchain podcast. I'm Neil Smith, and today we are talking about Presearch, joined by my co-host, Justin McKelvey. Justin, let's talk Presearch.
I'm excited about our topic today because I don't know much about it at all. A project that I got into because you nudged me that way. I didn't go as heavy as you did, so I still have a lot of questions on what's happening, how it works. I was excited from the dev engineering past of me on how to get involved. If I have to set up my own server in order to host a node, I was like, okay, This is kind of cool, which I just wanted to do that to do it.
Yes.
But that's as far as I've gotten. That's probably too much to say this early in the podcast. So let's jump back to what is Presearch? How did you find out about it? What is going on in that entire project?
Yes. So I found out about Presearch because I got into Strong, which is a node project, and I was looking for, are there other nodes? And so nodes, as I'm learning or beginning to understand, is you basically have miners, which are powering the blockchain in many ways. And then you have nodes, which are often like hosting the data on the blockchain. And so in order for the blockchain to work, it needs all of those things. And so I was looking for other node projects, and I came to a YouTube video about Presearch, and just started researching Presearch. It's my dad joke of the day. The Presearch. You're welcome. So I dug in, and I was like, so basically it's Google, so it's another search engine like Bing or Google, or I forget the new one out there that everybody's talking about now. But it's a decentralized search engine, and so they call it kind of the first Web3 search engine. And as I got into the history, I understood the Presearch founder had a business that was very dependent on Google search to run his business. And then when he was basically blacklisted on Google, he's like, hey, basically my whole business is dependent on this one company that can just basically shut down my company. I want to create a decentralized search engine so that other people can feel more freedom. And at the end of the day, Google is based on the data, that they're gaining on us, the searcher, to give us the right, response. So Google does a good job with search, but they also are selling our data at the end of the day. And so he really wanted to go and build a different kind of search engine based on Web3 best practices. Out of that is a lot of layers of nodes being hosted. So he doesn't have centralized servers that are hosting it, where most websites on the internet are hosted on Amazon's servers. And and then what's up, the other side is the tokenization of search. So essentially I get paid to search the internet. And so if you set up an account on Presearch, they'll pay you basically, I think, 0.2 Presearch tokens, which is, I think, like 5 cents every time you do a search. And you can do up to 10 searches a day and get paid to do them. And so it's a really interesting kind of ecosystem of paying people to search. And then you basically buy ads on their platform by staking their tokens. And whoever has the highest number of stake tokens on a certain term will win that auction, and that's who whose word gets or gets placed first within those search results. So it's an interesting ecosystem of tokenization with advertisers, with searchers, with node holders. And so as a node holder, every time somebody uses my node for a search, I get a percentage of a token as a reward for hosting the network. So it's a really interesting ecosystem they have built. And honestly, I think it's a really cool technology infrastructure that they've built. And they're seeing a lot of success. They're currently, Justin, and I'll wrap up kind of my learnings about Presearch, but they're currently moving from what they call prenet to mainnet. And so prenet means they're actually not a fully decentralized network yet. They have built it on a centralized system, Amazon in particular, and they are moving it to all of these nodes. And so they've been using all of our nodes as a test net system. And then the next 2 months, they'll be fully moving to this fully decentralized mainnet, decentralized network. And so it's a really interesting ecosystem. I said that was going to be it. One last thing, how I set up my nodes. is I used a platform, and I did all kinds of research. It was just over my head from a technical setup. And so I went, and you have to set up a VPS, so a virtual private server. And I went through a company called Rack Nerd, Racknerd, and I was able to set up 20 servers that would run the node. And then I connected those to my Presearch account, and then I staked you had to stake 2,000 Presearch tokens for every node to run it. What I have since done in the last month is Presearch now creates, you can have a hardware node. So I actually have a little mini computer here in my office plugged in that is my 21st node. That is I have tokens staked on it, and it's running off of my internet here in my home, and it's another node. And so where you can have a virtual computer that's running the node, or you can have a physical computer, which I have here in my home, that's running a node. And each node currently generates about $3 a day, I think is the return that I'm getting on this Presearch node. So it's an interesting, kind of passive income stream, as their tokens are also, because this project is increasing in value or becoming worth more. So is the passive income that it's sending me for the node hosting. So yeah, that's my experience with Presearch.
Super interesting. Again, there's like so many questions, but it's like I don't want to get too into the software engineer in me is like, wait, what about this? And how do you set up this? And how does this work? So I don't want to get too in the weeds on having you just say, I don't know a lot. So something I've seen. So I set up one node because I wanted to see the process. Yeah. So I took my 2,000 tokens, staked that, set up virtual. And what I've noticed is I don't think the rewards that I'm getting paid out are based on my number of searches I'm doing per day. Or else it caps really soon, because I see no correlation for me because I'm kind of looking off to the side right now because I have it in the background of I can see my reward total, because essentially I'm using it. So I have it set up. I'm using it just like I would Google. So you set up so your browser, my Chrome browser, which is Google, is using Presearch. So whenever I type something in, it goes through Presearch, and I can see the number of rewards I have on the top right corner instead of my face like Google shows. It just shows my rewards, and I can click on that and go into the dashboard and show that growing. But on I'm at 11 right now, so 11.8. But it just doesn't seem to correlate to the number of searches I'm doing per day, since I'm sitting at my computer working a lot and searching for things and researching. They don't seem to be going up as equal, and I can't find a place on their dashboard that shows how, like, it says you've done like 12 searches today or whatever on there. Yes. But when I've clearly done like 1 million. And so it's like, this number is off, and I'm not sure how to correlate that. And the other thing you said was other people can use my node. Like, well, how is that happening, and where are they coming from? And I'd love to be able to see that as well. Of Justin, you've done 14 searches today. Even if it was like, here is what you searched for, since you know what I'm searching for. Well, to a point, you could count the number in a vague idea. And then you said, and we've run 18 other searches by other users off of your node. Something like that would be super interesting for me to see a little more detailed breakdown. And I get building software like I have in the past. When things are early, you don't get every feature you want always. And that's just part of the game. So that's hopefully something that gets added on and built in the future, because I would love to see more detail into how am I getting the rewards I'm getting based on the work I'm putting in.
Well, and I think, Justin, and I think I actually have a bit of an answer for you as I'm understanding it. Yep. I think the first layer to Presearch, and for anybody listening, is if you just go to presearch.org, and it's going to be presearch.com soon when they move to mainnet, you can start searching the internet and set up an account and get paid in Presearch tokens or cryptocurrency. And so I think you practically, when you're searching the internet, and you'll see in the top right corner your rewards that are coming just from your searches. And that's what everybody, and I think that's really where you start with Presearch, is getting your personal rewards. You can't actually you can't cash those out until you hit 1,000 rewards. So it will take a long time till you, I think, get them out where you could cash that out. Practically, though, if you have 1,000 rewards, that's right now about $270, which is crazy to think that, in you in half a year of just searching the internet, things that we're already doing every day, you could just make an extra 250
Yep.
bucks. So I think that's where the rewards are coming from. Your nodes are totally separate. Those are other people's searches that you're helping to run. So there's no connection to the rewards coming on your nodes versus the rewards coming from your searches. So you're getting rewarded from other people's searches that you're feeding through your server, the information that's being stored on your server. So when it pings your server for their search, it's rewarding you then. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then I think and I think even as you understand that ecosystem is you can get paid through searching and you can get paid through node hosting. You pay money through advertising. And I think that's where where that kind of whole ecosystem. And so essentially what happens, an advertiser, just like Google, advertisers pay Google. That's how they make money. And then Google pockets all of that money. But what Presearch is doing is they're saying, okay, so since we're getting paid for people to search, we're going to give the searcher part of that money, and we're going to give the node holder part of that money, and then we're going to take a small fraction of that money. So they're kind of distributing their revenue transparently through their token. And I think what's interesting to me, Justin, about this, as I'm learning Presearch, is this opportunity to tokenize. And so I think as we think about Web3, Presearch is providing a transparent search engine for people to search in a really open and transparent way with their data, with a reward system connected to that and to their data. And then I think and so that's where I think this really becomes a Web3 type of system. And so as we think about how does this look of what if on social media, we had a social network, we got rewarded for every new connection we made or every message we sent or every post that we made or whatever it might be, there can be a tokenization of that. Or when somebody visits your website, they get a certain number of tokens for leaving their email address. I don't know how this all translates in time, but this is the new kind of token economy and I see tokens in many ways like Chuck E. Cheese tokens for my kids.
Yes.
And my kids want to get tickets. The tickets aren't the same as money, but the tickets do allow you to buy those trinkets at the end of playing at Chuck E. Cheese. Or you can convert those, but
you can exchange them for value of other kinds.
You can exchange those for value of other kinds. And so Presearch is
bouncy ball.
giving value in different ways. And so it's a really interesting ecosystem that Presearch is creating. So I'm fascinated by the project. I'm invested in the project. I think it's a great search engine. But I think even beyond the search engine is the ecosystem that they've built that really moves from, and it's helping me see Google, which is a very centralized system, to Presearch, which is a very decentralized system, and how these two are different and how, what that difference is. And so it's definitely going to be interesting to see how it develops, where it goes from here.
It sounds like when you were talking right there that you just said unintentionally that we should have a decentralized social network that based on I get tokens when I add my friends to it. So that was a fun little thought that you threw in there.
Yeah. I mean, I think and this is where I get as an entrepreneur and somebody who just loves innovation and disruption and a lot of that kind of entrepreneurial language, is as you think about just anything that we do of, like if I go to the doctor, what if the doctor gave me points because they read on my tracker that I went and exercised and ran 3 miles. And so I'm getting tokens and that I get a reward when I go to the doctor or something, or my insurance company is then going to lower my insurance premium because of the tokens. And if I get enough tokens, who knows? I think there's a gamification tied to the tokens. I think there's all kinds of opportunities to tokenize ecosystems that, I mean, I think for my kids' school and gaming, this is a big part of it. But I think there's just I think there's a unique opportunity. I think Presearch is one of the first models that is making sense to me in
Yep.
this Web3 world, and I'm in. I'm really like what I'm learning and seeing.
My previous insurance company would also they would pay you out in Amazon gift cards for your amount of, like, if you got your 10,000 steps a day. So
Yeah.
you could sync the app with your phone and it would track your phone health tracker.
Interesting.
If you got 10,000, it would be like, and 1 day complete. So if you got a certain number of days complete within a month,
Yeah.
then they would give you like, and here's $100 Amazon gift card.
Wow.
So centralized version of that, but it just tied into what you were saying. I think it'd be super interesting to have a decentralized version of that. And I think that is kind of what's happening across the board right now, with a lot of people going, how do we come up with a new token, and how can I reward people for using my token? So you're kind of getting a lot of like my token version, but in general, once all of these different tokens are interoperable, sort of like metaverse talk we've done before, but once they're all kind of exchangeable to each other easily, then I can see everyone rewarding tokens for just activity and using that as a way to influence in marketing, instead of just like, hey, give me your email and I'll give you a free download. It's, hey, do whatever action and I'll give you a token that's then exchangeable for tickets at Chuck E. Cheese to buy the bouncy ball, instead of just, cool, thanks for giving us your email, have a good day. So super interesting. I'm just tying that back into like some real world examples there, since we've talked about nodes and really nerdy things this whole time. But yeah, something I'm involved into. I've got Presearch open in the background of this. Like, as we're recording, there's like another window open where I'm kind of looking at some of the other crypto terms I was reading up that people are starting to use. I think that Presearch, I think, is super interesting that once you've done the search, they also tie into all your major search engines. So if you're like, I don't like these results and I want to click on, what does this term say on Google, or what does it say on Twitter, which is kind of cool, or DuckDuckGo, which is a non-trackable version. But none of these are officially decentralized. Anyway, I just like that they're tying in these traditional Web 2 things with a Web 3 version, so you're not too far off track from what people are used to, and so you can still use it and then jump to somewhere else if you're not a fan of what they're showing. But I think it's doing a pretty good job from what I've seen so far.
Yeah.
Just my own small input on what I've got to the conversation, since I've minimally dug into understanding it and only just been using it the past week to really figure it out.
Yes. Well, and one of the things I've learned, Justin, is in the crypto world and whatever learning world, is a lot of people host AMAs. So ask me anything on Twitter or on Discord. And so I've sat in on several with the founder of, I think Colin Pape is his name, of Presearch. And he, I lost my train of thought. Colin Pape, Presearch.
AMAs, tying into traditional Web 2 stuff.
It was a really great thought.
Man, you're going to have to tune into next episode to hear what that thought is once you remember it, once we stop. That's how it usually works.
Wow. I just totally blanked.
The sign of getting old. That's all we got. Thoughts disappear at a moment's notice.
I was so focused on, can I remember the founder's name? And I totally forgot whatever the thought was that the founder shared about something that was really insightful about. I know what it is. I remember now. He said that most searches, something like 90% of all searches are done through Google. But what's interesting is most search engines, including DuckDuckGo, is actually using Bing as an API as a backend. And so a lot of people don't realize how much is really controlled between Google and Microsoft with that search engine. So they built theirs from scratch. They didn't want, they said actually Bing was too expensive. And so when they were starting out, and so they just decided to build it from scratch, but they're glad they did. So it's a fully autonomous, decentralized network that isn't dependent on any other search engine. Now, the reality to that is there's just so much computer science built into Google, and they're not going to be able to compete. The quality of search results you're going to get from Google is going to naturally be more robust and comprehensive. I think the privacy, though, is what I think people are going to begin to understand more and more, and the value they're going to get of a decentralized network. And so time will tell how far this will go. But it's a project that isn't new either. I think it started in 2017. So in crypto, years, that's like 200 years old. This is like the GE of Web3 technologies.
200 years old.
And so it's they've been around a while, and so I think they're going to stick around, and they're really, a lot of projects are coming and going quickly. They just, good idea, but you can't execute. And this is one that I think they've come a long way, and they're about to make a big jump into mainnet, which will really be their long-term infrastructure shift. And so I'm really, we'll see. It's going to be a fun journey to continue to navigate.
Yeah. It's exciting to follow a lot of these new projects it's like any startup you want to get into, somebody who's doing a startup for a new juice or whatever, something you want to get into, you believe in the product, you believe in the founders, you think they're doing good things. So it's always fun to follow along as, people's journeys as they grow. So excited to see where Presearch goes. I guess I'm invested, obviously. So let's do this. Also, you mentioned AMAs. I'm intrigued if we should do a live AMA on Twitter Spaces or LinkedIn Audio. I think LinkedIn Audio is what they call the feature. So we've been discussing that as a podcast of doing a live podcast that becomes a AMA approach on one of those platforms. So send us a message on any of the socials. Maybe if you got any topics or things that questions you'd love to ask live like that. I think that'd be great to at least talk through what we're learning with what you'd like to know. Yeah. Anything else to add to that?
No, go follow us on socials. Neil Smith, Justin McKelvey. Google us, you'll find us, and we'll connect there.
Hold on real quick. Pre-search us. Don't Google us. Pre-search us.
Pre-search us. I love it.
You might have to Google us first, but anyway.
No, pre-search us first and get your penny.
There you go.
Whatever you get paid for doing the search, and then if that doesn't work out well enough, there's actually a Google button you can hit on Presearch, so you can actually search Google on Presearch. Yeah. So good conversation.
Talk to you next time.
All right. See y'all.